Hey everyone, welcome to the second video of the series. In this video, we're going to go through the basic topics to get you started with VBA coding. And the first thing we're going to do is show you how to activate VBA. So we'll click on File, Options. We'll go to this Customize ribbon, and you have to make sure that this developer checkbox is on. If it is, then all good. You click OK, and you should have your developer tab up here. We'll have a look later on at all these buttons up here, but for the time being we'll just focus on the Visual Basic Editor. You either click on this button here to open it, or you press Alt plus F11. So let's open it. So this might seem scary at first, but don't worry, we'll go through all the elements one by one. And there are 6 different components to the Visual Basic Editor. The first one is at the top, is the menu bar. The second one is right below it. We're talking now about the toolbar. The third one, located on the upper left side here, is the project window. The fourth component is the property windows, located here in the bottom left side. This window right here at the bottom is called the immediate window. And last but not least, we have the code window. And this is where we will spend most of our time together. The menu bar is a standard menu bar just like in any other programs on Windows. The toolbar can be used to customize your VBA environment. We'll open it just to show you how practical it can be. We'll click on View, then Toolbars, and Customize. And now we can do as the instruction says. To add a command to a toolbar, select a category from this list here, and drag the command out of this dialog box to a toolbar. So let's say we want to print our code. We'll just take this icon, drag and drop it here. Well, I already have it on my example, but you get the point. And as you learn to code in VBA, you will find this tip to be extremely useful. Now, let's move on to the project window. So, the project window will list all open Excel workbooks, the worksheets in it, and all the open modules. A module is basically a page of code. Right below our project window is the property window. And this will list the properties of the Excel objects listed in the project window. For example, if I want to inspect the properties of my first sheet, I'll just click on it and have a look here. I can see that the name of the sheet is a table content. And there are plenty of other options that we will not cover in this video. Moving on to the immediate window. This window can be used for debugging purposes. And since this requires to be quite advanced in coding in VBA, we will have to keep that for a later video. Now, let's go back to our Excel spreadsheets and talk security within VBA. This has been a delicate issue for Microsoft, and they have been working on it over the years. Macros are basically programs, and like any other program, they can contain viruses. That's right, you heard me. An Excel spreadsheet can harm your computer. And this is why Microsoft Excel enables you to check the security settings that will most fit your working environment. All you have to do is go on File, Options, then go on Trust Center. Trust Center Settings. Finally, click on Macro Settings. And this is where you get to choose what security setting you need exactly. I highly recommend you use the second option, which is disable all macros with notifications. You will be able to enable them on a one-by-one basis. Another option would be to use trusted locations. You would basically just have to add a new location that you deem, well, trustworthy. A shared drive from your office is usually a safe location. If you're going to spend a lot of hours coding with VBA, it's very important to set up your environment the way it will best fit you. Lucky for you, Excel has already its most important features set up as default, so you won't really need to do anything. This being said, it's still very important to know these features, as it will help you to understand a few interactions with Excel. So let's come back to our Visual Basic editor. As a reminder, you either click on it here or press Alt plus F11. And we'll click on Tools and Options. For now, we will just focus on the first tab, which is the Editor tab. And the first setting we're going to look at is the Auto Syntax Check. And this one is extremely useful for beginners. While writing your code, if you happen to make a syntax error, Excel will warn you about it. And let me show you what I mean by that. Let's go back to our module. We'll go to our training module specifically, and we'll come up with a code, a program that opens up a pop-up window with a message, and this message should be hello world. So we'll write sub and the name of the program or the name of the sub. Let's say sub hello world. We'll write message box, we'll open the parentheses, open the brackets, and we'll write hello world. Now let's say we forgot this very important end sub part here, and we run our code. As expected, Excel spots an error. It says expected end sub, and obviously it expected us to finish our sub by the statement end sub. So let's correct this. Let's add back our end sub, run the code again, and this works. All right, let's now go back to our tools, options, and have a look at one more check. The unchecked box right here that says require variable declaration, well, has to do with variables, and this we will have to leave for another video. Let's discuss now the third one, which is auto list members. This one will finish expressions for you and provide help as you code. So let's try it out together. Let's say now we want to write a code that adds a worksheet. We'll open a sub, call it worksheet add, and we will simply write worksheet dot, and here is it. As I was writing my code, Excel basically completed it by suggesting a method, and I actually wanted the add method, so there's that. Click on it, and now we can actually test our macro. So let's run it. We'll click on run, and we'll go back to our spreadsheet, and here you see it again. Sheet 1 has been created. So that means that the code was working fine. Now let's go back to our Visual Basic editor, more specifically to our tools options. And now let's have a look at this auto quick info. So what does this mean? The auto quick info gives you basically information about the built-in Excel functions. Let's suppose now we don't know exactly what we're supposed to write after message box. You open the parentheses, then here you can see it basically gives you the arguments that you're supposed to fill after you open the parentheses. But this looks like a complicated example. Let's maybe take a simpler one. Let's take a function, let's say the lowercase function, which is lcase in VBA. It's a function that basically turns your uppercase characters to lowercase ones. So we'll open the parentheses, and here you can see the auto tip info. Basically, it gives you an indication on what Excel expects you to fill after the parentheses. All right, let's quickly get back our message box function, hello word, close the parenthesis, and look at the next options. So auto data types. This one is a good one. This one has to do with variables. A variable is a place where you can store information. So we'll have a full video to cover this topic, but for now we'll just keep it simple. And we'll write sub variable. That's just the name of the sub. And in this sub we will assign to x a value of 1. We will now run the code. And once I run this part of the code and I hover my mouse over the x, I can see a small tip that says x equals 1. You'll find this data type to be extremely useful once we get a bit deeper into the variable topic. Going back to our options, we'll have a look at the last check in this code settings section, which is the auto indent. This one has to do with indentation in your code. I highly recommend to take this habit very early on your coding journey. This will help you keep a clean and structured code that you can easily come back to if you ever need to. So let's see how Excel helps you with that. By leaving the option on, Excel will help you keep the same levels of indentation. So let's see, I want my message box to be at this level. I press enter and I will come back directly to the same level. So these are small quality of life features that will make your learning process a little bit easier. All right, let's now go back to our Excel spreadsheet and let's talk about terminology. As you work in VBA, you will encounter many times terms like subs, functions, or procedures. And before going any further, you want to understand exactly what those mean. A VBA code or program is usually referred to as procedure. And there are two types of procedures. Subs are lines of code that, when executed, return a specific set of actions. If we go back to our previous example, the sub hello world, well, that was a sub. The second type of procedures is functions. And functions do not return a specific set of actions, but they return a single value. Let's look at this example. And for this, we'll go back to our Visual Basic editor. And we will create a function. This function will return the square value of a variable. So we'll call it square. And we'll give it an argument, which is x. And we'll say square equals x and the power of 2. And now let's test our function. Let's go back to our Excel spreadsheet. Let's go to random cell and type square. This is our function. Let's take a value of 5, enter, and there you go. So this will wrap up our second video. Coming up next, a quiz to test your knowledge so far. In the next video, we'll have a look at the very useful macro recorder function. We'll use it to do our first program. We'll show you how commenting helps a lot within VBA. We'll test our macros and show you how to save our progress. I'll see you in the next one.